my husband was sharing the word, I thought about a few things. But one, just this before I came up, he said, your voice is going to be your voice of victory is, or failure or defeat is going to be what you do. And I thought about that saying. It says, action speaks louder than words. Action speaks louder than words. Because we can say just about anything, but if it's not backed up with whatever it is that we're saying, it's of no point. It's of no value. It only means something when we back it up, whether it's good or bad. And I think about the story in the Word of God where this, I think Jesus was telling this parable, and he was saying that the father gave instruction to the son, but he asked the one son, "Can you go and do this?" And he said, "Oh, sure, Dad, most definitely, I'll go do that for you." And he didn't. He said yes, he'll do it, and he didn't do it, but he told his dad he would. He talked to the other son, and he said, "Son, would you do this, please?" He said, "I don't want to do that. I'm not doing that." But he was the one that actually turned around and did what the father asked him to do. So you had two opposites. You had the one that did not want to do it, but somehow along the way had a change of heart and actually did what the father instructed him to do in his heart. And then there was the one that was talking, and he's saying, "Yeah, I'll do it." He was quick with his response, but then he didn't follow it up. He didn't follow it up with what he told his dad he was going to do. And when I think about the voice of victory, the father just brought that scenario up to me, and I thought, wow, how when I look back and over, the things that I've experienced, and even in the church, and victory is mine, that, and all this kind of stuff. And how it could be such a false sense of victory, because, like my husband said, is what are you backing it up with? Because really, the father, what he's listening for, the type of voice he wants to hear, is the voice of what we do with what we do hear from him. And you have where we are saying all these good and wonderful and beautiful things, but we're not backing it up, we're not living it, we're not doing it as unto the Father as we said we were doing. We're saying all these wonderful things with our mouth, like, give and it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together and running over, and you can't even give the words of life to someone that's right next to you. And I looked at how my husband, and how the Father's presence was on my husband when we were at the barber shop. He got in there, and the guy that was cutting his hair was taking forever to cut his hair. And my husband picked up on it like, wait a minute, he's trying to milk me for everything I got. But what he meant by that was that the guy that was cutting his hair, he wanted more of what was being said, because my husband was speaking life, and the presence of the Father was there. And it's so much so, while he was there doing my husband's hair, my husband said, "Oh, so you want to know? You want to know too?" He said, "No, I don't want to know. I never told you I want to know." He said, "Okay, I know you want to know. And because you want to know, you're going to be held accountable for what's about to come for me to share with you. But if I want to share it, no, I don't want to know, because I don't want to be held accountable." And isn't that how we are at times? Where we don't want to know because we don't want to be held accountable, because now we have to put voice to what we've just heard. Voice meaning, like my husband said, walking that out. Walking out what the Father said. We held accountable when we go and we pick up the Word of God, and He speaks to us from that Word, or He speaks to us, when we're out and about, and He keeps talking to us, and sometimes we want to shut Him out. Like there are times when, one time I went to the Father And I said, he had this guy, and I thought, oh wow, maybe he might be the husband. And a part of me didn't want to go and talk to him about it, to the father about it. You know why? Because I felt like if I go and I tell the father that I think that might be the guy, and I go and I talk to him about it, he might tell me something I don't want to hear. And when he does respond to me and he does tell me, now I'm going to be forced to either make a choice. And well, sure enough, in that instance, it turned out for me when I went and talked to the father about it, very nervous about that. I went and he said, no, and I'm going to tell you, he didn't tell me why this person wasn't the person. He just told me, no, that's not the person. And then he went on and he proceeded. Not only did he say the no, but he told me, write this down. He said, keep this in your heart. And as a matter of fact, he didn't tell me write it down. He told me keep it in my heart. And I wrote a portion of it and I left the other rest of it blank. That's the part I kept in my heart, what was blank. And he said, this is how you will know that this person is your husband. And he said, this is what you'll know to know and identify who your husband is. So you will know when he comes. You will know it. It wouldn't be a guessing game. It wouldn't be you trying to figure anything out. I'm telling you in advance, this is what is how it's going. This is exactly the words he's going to use. And these are the words he's going to say. No one that has crossed my path since the time that the father told me that. Now, mind you, I was very disappointed when the father told me, no, that person is not the one. I was disappointed. I was like, ah. But he didn't leave me stay there. That's when he gave me the other part of it. And he said, no, that's not the one. But here's what I'm going to tell you. This is how you're going to know. And for all the time that passed, it was a lot of time that passed, probably about 10 years or so from that time or so. Everybody that came across my path, no one said those words. The only person that said that exact phrase is the husband I have right now. The only husband I have right now. Henry Blue. He was the only one that said it. And I knew that that it was something different about him as opposed to whatever had crossed my path before. And it was so immediate, I got a little bit afraid quickly. Like when my husband said, when he said to me, within that day, he said, let's go ahead and get married. Would you be my wife? I'm like, wait a minute. It's only been like 3 hours, 4 hours. I was like, can we go out for? He's like, okay. And he was just through with it because he knew what the father had told him. He felt that I was playing around with it. But I knew, I was like, I knew that this guy, he gotta be the guy, because I kept going to the father and talking to him about it. But I wanted something to confirm and solidify what I knew was on the inside of me. And so we had one date, and in that one date, a lunch date, and the rest is history. Then I got what the father wanted me to get from that, and then it happened. But what I guess where I was going with that was that the victory that we think we have is not the victory that we have. But the victory I had in that moment was the way I was living. That was the victory. I was carrying out what the Father was telling me to do, because I knew that He had this promise for me, and He even told me what to expect and what to hear and how I would know. And I never shared it with anyone until that day that it actually happened and He said it. And then I went and got my notebook and I showed my journal to my husband and he saw it. And but we say we want, like my husband said, I knew that I wanted a husband, but I didn't want any husband. I wanted a man of God. I wanted one that loved God more than he loved me. That was my prayer every single day. I was like, Father, I thank you for the husband that you have given me, that loves you more than he loves me. He puts you first over me. He loves your word. He loves to be obedient to you. He loves you. He's intimate with you. That was my prayer. And then it happened. Here it was. My husband, he just, Father, I just love you. And he'll just be talking to the Father. I'm sitting right there. And I'm like, wow. He gave me all of that I was saying thank you for. It was already something that he had put in my husband. And I see that my constant carrying out like I wanted a husband was that victory, voice of victory that my husband was talking about. I wanted a husband, and therefore I aligned myself with that. Now when the husband came, the one that I kept thanking the Father for, it was a challenge in the beginning for me to be able to come into that oneness or working towards that oneness, because of the fact that there's a lot of things going on. You know, you're being single, coming out of a ministry, things that I was experiencing and different things. It was a lot of different type of baggage that came along with that. And but nonetheless, I knew that that's what the Father had promised me, and the Father helped me to carry out and to live like that person that was awaiting. Because when I crossed his path, I wasn't in the arms of another man. I wasn't walking with another man. I wasn't talking with another man. It was just me by myself. Because had I been with someone else, walking or playing around like I don't want a husband, then he would have overlooked me and I would have missed out on that. And I guess to single women that are out there, because I was once single, you want that husband that you've been believing for, then you have to demonstrate that you want a husband before he even comes. I mean, that you're not going to entertain other men and say, okay, well, just for entertainment, I'll just go and have dinner with somebody. You don't know how or where or when you're going to meet the one that the Father has for you, and you can miss an open opportunity because you didn't demonstrate that that's what you wanted. You didn't give that voice. You didn't show the Father that voice with your actions. And so I thank the Father for the word that he's given to my husband about the voice of victory.